Hello everyone, welcome to Hot Cars, and you join me today with the 2021 Ford Bronco Sport. Now, to be very clear from the top, this is not the body-on-frame Jeep Wrangler competitor. That is the real Bronco, and that goes on sale later in the summertime. But with this Bronco Sport, it is a unibody design based on the same platform that the Ford Escape is based on. At first thoughts, you would think this is just a rebodied Ford Escape. You think it's a cheap afterthought. But after living with this vehicle for over a week and finding out a lot of information regarding how this vehicle was built, I'm convinced that this could be a better choice for you if you're looking for a compact crossover with a lot more personality and some real off-roading credential. So we're going to go for a drive on the road. I don't really want to spend much time talking about the off-road capability as I'm unable to test it in my area. So living with the Bronco Sport is the most important thing that needs to be discussed. So let's get right to it. So the Bronco Sport is a unibody design, and the rear suspension system is an independent multi-link. Those are all of the things that the real Bronco won't be. That will be a body-on-frame vehicle with a solid rear axle, and it can either be a 2- or 4-door configuration with lots of removable body panels. You could probably take the doors off, but that requires a significant amount more work in the Bronco Sport. The point of the Bronco being a doorless, roofless vehicle is that you can get it done in 5 minutes. So with that preface out of the way, I want to state quite clearly that I was originally very skeptical of the Bronco Sport. When details first came out about it, I really thought that Ford had, made an easy badge engineering move. They'd just taken an Escape, made some cheap body panels that were styled differently, stuck them on top, and called it a day. But I can happily report that I was wrong, simply put, because there are some very significant structural changes to the Bronco Sport to help separate it as a standalone vehicle. First off, the wheelbase is 1.6 inches shorter, and you're going to notice that biggest difference of interior space for the second row, which we'll talk about later. There's a lot more ground clearance in this vehicle. You have 7.4 inches of wheel travel, 8.8 inches of total ground clearance. Let's hit this puddle here. This is always good fun. Yes. Speaking of hitting puddles, this vehicle also has a wading depth of 600 millimeters. You can fit up to 30.5 inch tires on this vehicle, something you definitely couldn't do on the Escape. And the interior is different enough where not only does it have its own unique touches, but its own design as well. So this big pod that you see with the steering wheel and the touchscreen and this big piece of plastic that integrates these two air vents feels like it is almost the entire structure of the car. And on this model, it feels like it's made out of a grip tape like you'd feel on a skateboard. Definitely not as gritty, sanded down quite a bit, but that's found throughout the cabin, and that's a really interesting touch of something I don't think I've seen in any other vehicle. There's plenty of other soft touch plastics, and because I'm in the Badlands model with the Badlands package added on top, we have this gorgeous brown leather, which I just got out of a Lincoln Corsair, and this might even be better leather than what I found in that vehicle. There's also the suede inserts on the seats and the headrest that carries over into the second row of seating as well. Of course, it's still a Ford. There is a lot of hard plastics found throughout, but almost everything that you interact with feels very rich in terms of leather or material quality, or different. You have some very unique things in this vehicle that not only have I seen in any other Fords, but I don't think any other vehicles either. If we're talking about the most expensive titanium Ford Escape, it's about $2,000 less than this. And of course, you're getting the unique styling, quite a bit more interior room. Like, look how much headroom I have back here. Second row space again is where that is even more prominent. I'll talk about that later as well. But the Bronco Sport is certainly less fuel efficient. It's noisier on the highway, and you find that you can't do as smooth of turns as what you'd like. Primarily, I think because this is quite a tall vehicle. It's got a lot of weight up top, and due to that, it feels like there's quite a little bit of lean in the corners. But another element to that too, and one of the biggest criticisms that I have with the Bronco Sport, is that for these seat bases, for a tall guy like me, not only is there enough material to support my legs, but there doesn't really seem to be any side cushioning. So every time I take an on-ramp to get onto the highway, I feel like I'm falling out of the chair a little bit. The Bronco Sport only has 2 engine options, and the 1.5 litre inline 3-cylinder turbocharged engine is the primary engine choice. Only going up to the Badlands model will you get the 2 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. The 1.5 litre makes 181 horsepower and 190 pound-feet of torque, can tow 2,000 pounds, and this 2 litre makes 245 horsepower, 275 pound-feet of torque, with the ability to tow 2,200 pounds. Both engines have the 8-speed automatic transmission, but with the 2 litre you can change gears manually with the paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, and they come with the 4-wheel drive system that Ford has implemented its GOAT modes. And GOAT doesn't mean greatest of all time. What it actually means is go over any type of terrain. So really there should be another T in this GOAT, but oh well, details. Engine and transmission response is pretty good. I like the scrappy nature of Ford's 2 litre engines. It doesn't make a particularly nice noise, but if you're just rolling on throttle softly and it will gently gain speed, it's largely something that remains in the background. The GOAT modes include things that we come to expect out of Ford's different driving modes, with a few other interesting details added on. So starting from the far left, you go from slippery, sport, eco, normal, mud and ruts, sand, and rock crawl. Now, when you go into those off-road modes, you then have the ability to also lock the rear differential and lock the system in 4-wheel drive. Other things to talk about up front, there isn't all that much storage. We've got a couple cup holders, a place for the wireless phone charger, and the door pockets are definitely on the smallish side, but I can still squeeze my 1 litre water bottle inside. Where storage excels is in the second row, because with the Badlands you get zippered pockets behind each seat and the Moley straps that you would find on a military backpack. You could probably fit a regular sized iPad into this section. Ford claims the reason it's there is for maps, of all things, interestingly. So I doubt that it's a waterproof zip, but a really handy thing to have nonetheless. Another feature with the Badlands is that on the passenger side, the rear seat lifts up and you have a storage compartment where it looks like Ford wants you to throw your muddy boots. It's only on that side, it doesn't carry over to the rest of the seats. Sitting behind myself in the second row is pretty tight for my optimum driving position, but I will say that there is a lot of knee room afforded to me that I could slide up a little further if I'd like to. But the seat is set for what is currently comfortable for me. So you'll see in this video that knee room is tight. I am having to press my knees into the seat, but foot room's really good. The roof space, the amount of space I have above my head is incredible. This has the safari style roof that something like a Land Rover Discovery has, and it's all to help out with second row headroom. To talk about the boot space, because there is a lot to talk about back there. Firstly, you can split the glass and lift that independently from the tailgate, and neither of them are power assist, which is something really quite refreshing. Getting into so many luxury cars that I do, it's a little annoying that you have to search for a button and it takes 10 or 15 seconds to close. Ford neatly put in the glass button and the door button, and lifting one of them up or both of them at the same time is a cinch, can be done in a second. And with that boot space, very square, very tall, and you can option up for this cargo tray, and you can use this cargo tray to separate things within the boot space. First thing you can think of doing is having a tray so that you have 2 levels, or you could fold it at a 90-degree angle so you could really hide away things. And then you could pull it out even further, and it has these extending legs that you would rest on the bumper where maybe you could eat your dinner off of. And when it locks into place, driving about now, I haven't heard it rattle around at all on regular driving roads. Lifting up the false floor, there's a tiny little amount of extra storage space, and you get a full-size spare wheel, which is probably the most critical thing for any soft roader or hardcore off-roader. There's 2 household plug-ins in this model, one for the second row seats and another in the boot space. Another great feature is that there's some lights built into the boot that shine down on you. They can be adjusted slightly. A few quick other things to mention with off-road ability. You'll see that you've got the tow hooks exposed up on the front bumper, and for the rear you would probably use the tow hitch to help you get out of a sticky situation. The bumpers and what helps lead to the underside of the vehicle are all rubberized, so hopefully in the incident where they crack or they're badly scratched, they should be cheap to replace. And the Badlands has rubberized floors, not rubberized floor mats, but everything leading up to the side of the tunnel, everything in the footwell is rubberized, and that's fantastic on a wet, mucky day like today. And I'm sure owners are going to love this as well, because you can get this space filthy and just lightly wipe it down with a wet rag. This Bronco Sport that I was given did come with floor mats, and they're easily attachable, but I kind of like not having it. Adding on to that, stepping into the Bronco Sport, you'll see that the doors totally cover the sides of the vehicle, so you won't mucky up the side of your pants when you step in and out on a dirty, wet day. So there you have it. Those are all of my thoughts towards the Ford Bronco Sport. It's something that I really do believe is worthwhile in the Ford lineup. I think if anybody is looking for a vehicle like this, they're looking for something with a little more personality, a little more charm, and I will admit that this has a lot of charm. I've been reviewing cars for years and years. I've been in some very expensive models and some very exclusive nameplates, but this is one of the very few occasions where strangers have come up to me to ask about this vehicle. And I don't know if there's a higher praise out there than that. So let's wrap up this video and finish off where we started. So there you have it. Those are all of my thoughts with Ford's 2021 Bronco Sport. In a nutshell, this really isn't an unnecessary addition to Ford's lineup. It has a purpose. I can see why they developed it. And I really think that if you're looking for a compact crossover with a lot of personality, the Bronco Sport is going to be able to satisfy you. Now, if you're a more sensitive individual such as myself and you just want the quietest, most comfortable car and you never see yourself doing anything more than just an occasional dirt road, then the Ford Escape probably will be a better vehicle for you. But if you're looking to stand out in a parking lot, if you want to be in a vehicle that brings you some kind of joy, this Bronco Sport really is where it's at. So thank you very much for taking the time to watching this review here on Hot Cars. My name's Max Landy. Thanks for watching.